Tippy time, my damies, Topcat here and welcome back to the channel. Before we dive into this review, I just wanted to say a massive thank you for getting me to 2,000 subs. Since my shoulder injury, this channel has kept me sane, and your support of the channel means the world to me. The exotic is the Foetracer, and to me this is the strongest exotic this season. It's been reworked, and now by damaging powerful enemies with an ability, we are granted a surge bonus to our weapons for 10 seconds. We destroy them and that'll leave us a remnant. Our Strand subclass does not have remnants, but it will create ionic traces, fire sprites, void breaches and stasis shards. This season, however, we won't be using a stasis subclass as Bungie has no love for it currently. The subclasses will be segmented in the timeline and links will be in the description below. Our Arc Hunter is the king of area of effect, and of our 4 builds here, it's probably the best at soloing activities. Its damage bonus takes a hand cannon shot from 6367 to 8755, off the back of our ability attack. Our melee will be the backbone of all 4 of our builds, and our Arc Hunter has easy access to them. We're of course using the lethal current to buff our dodges and our punches with that increased lunge range and jolt effect. It's flow state that will feed us amplified to increase our reload speed, so no reload mods are required. But it'll also supercharge our class ability charge rate, giving us a 7-second dodge. We utilize this with Gambler's Dodge to reload that melee charge, giving us what we need to eliminate mages and champs in mere seconds. We're running this lost sector at 20 under, deleting 5 champs in under a minute. We thrive up close and personal with Spark of Resistance. While surrounded by combatants, we become more resistant to incoming damage, allowing us to rock up to a major or a champ and quickly duel with it. As they have now become lightning rods, you don't even need to waste your time with the little old red bars. Now I'm going to recommend Disorientating Blow. I personally have been finding Disorientating Blow more practical lately, as when you are 15 or 20 under, it can often take a few melees to spin up that combination blow, and that's quite hard when you're not one-punching everything. And what we are really after is Amplify and that ability in order to acquire that tier 5 surge to let our weapons do the talking. I'm really vibing with flashbangs at the moment. This is a really tactical grenade, allowing us to get in there nice and close to activate that punch surge combo. I've also been using Arc Bolt as they both have awesome cooldowns. I get a flashbang every 17 seconds so I can regularly debuff mages from afar. And by using the flashbang, we can now stun unstopped champs. And with Spark of Shock, we can also jolt with it too, so we can double dip our wick. What I love about this is it opens up our weapons loadouts. We generally want 2 arc weapons capable of DPS on this build. One for long range so we can take out guys from afar, and one for up close and personal. When we drop these jolted targets lickety split, Spark of Ions will feed us back an Ionic Trace. This will feed us back energy to all of our abilities, so we will be prepared to take down multiple mages. In those trenches we are bound to take a few licks, so Spark of Recharge will help to top up both of our nades and melee when we take a few punches in the face. This build loves to play with swords, and the Hunter's got a real good one. It's called the Gold Tusk. This lightweight strikes hard and fast, allowing us to get those Whirlwind Blade stacks up to max faster. And with Relentless Blades, it feeds us back ammo, so no matter how long that damage phase is, you won't run out of ammo. If you're gonna hunt a Crota, to me this is an obvious choice, and thankfully it's craftable. Not having to chase Surge during a damage phase has really changed the game, and it really suits situations here where you're on the move. This is really easy DPS that will suit any skill level. Even in a static DPS situation, it's still superior. Triple Surge mods give a 22% surge bonus, but with the Foetracer plus that Monochromatic Maestro perk and the artifact, we've now got a 38% bonus for 5 seconds. Now that's plenty enough time to drop a major or champ. Additionally, our Arc FOMO combo runs on Jolt. Gathering Storm also has Jolt. This allows us to continually re-proc that tier 5 surge. A consistent surge is invaluable, and I've been dropping boss 1 phase all day without the use of a well, divinity, tether or tractor. A quick reminder before we move on to a solar subclass to thumb it if you're liking it, and all dim links for these builds will be in the description below. Arc is a solo's wet dream, but the solar subclass is going to pump out even more damage. Like Arc, this FOMO build will be primed primarily through our melee. Knife Trick is the superior option. It's got that forgiving hitbox and offers us tons of scorch stacks. It's impressive damage made for an easy 2-barrel kill in duality, and our Gambler's Dodge is even more important on our solar subclass. This build will require us to use even more melees to uncover its full power. Luckily we got a tasty loop here, Ember of Singeing. Your class ability charges faster when we scorch targets. Our fan knives are going to take care of that. Ember of Ashes is going to make said knives deliver more scorch stacks, and for good measure a utility kickstarter. Altogether these will ensure us a 7-second dodge, which in turn we can use to reliably buff us against any and all mages and bosses we come across on the battlefield. These scorch stacks can also help us extend that 5-second fomatic combo, as our scorch stacks will linger past that 5 seconds to re-proc against any target you haven't already deleted. The Foetracer just makes the strong stronger. Lament is OP, it's a top pick against Crota, and can melt anti-barriers if you're beginning to get tired of the Wish Ender. Some of you out there still don't understand how to use the Lament. Block, light, 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 heavy, but this rotation really is capable of some monstrous damage. But if it's not for you, maybe try the Caretaker. Whilst this isn't on the same level as the Bequest, it's easier to obtain, and it's still got plenty of power. Surrounded offers us one of the highest damage perks in the game, and it's great at both chomping at the boss's kneecaps or chewing through waves of ads. Blade Barrage will be our super of choice, as it plays a lot better with those close combat scenarios. Knock 'em down is going to make it stronger. I know a lot of you hunters out there are Star Eaters or bust, but a standard Blade Barrage still does amazing burst damage. And that FOMO damage buff makes up for any shortcomings you might have from that full super damage of the Star Eaters. We're using healing nades. This is going to offer us base restoration for 5 seconds, and Ember of Torches will give us base radiant of 9 seconds. Paired with knock 'em down, knife kills are instantly refunded. Ember of Solace will extend both of these timers out to 12 seconds. And with Ember of Imperium, any solar weapon final blows or solar ability final blows, these will refresh that restoration and radiant buff back up to 12 seconds, making us largely unkillable as we kill them all. Now I know there are heaps of amazing solar weapons out there. I've been loving the Polaris Lance and the Skyburner's Oath lately. Sunshot is obviously a top pick inside Season 22 with the hand cannon buffs. It's now stronger and it overloads. Personally though, I've been quite partial to the Tommy's Matchbook. When Heatsink is active, it throws out Scorch, and this build has more than enough heals to counteract that burn damage. And with the on your mark aspect, your handling and reload is the tits. This 100 round drum has enough Scorch with 2 ignitions, and the more Scorch that we have, the better this FOMO build will work. But really any solar weapon will make this build shine. This solar FOMO takes your weapon damage the highest. A 120 hand cannon shot goes from 6867 to 10,944. That's a 72% weapon damage bonus. But outright DPS isn't always everything. Bungie is throwing more and more foes at us these days. So for ad dense encounters we turn to Strand. Our Strand will again utilize melee as our primary source of applying that tier 4 weapon surge. This ninja dart applies Sever that'll debuff our enemy's damage output. This allows us to play really safely at that 20-meter range. This is that hot pocket as we really want to be close enough to utilize our melee. After throwing this out there to debuff, it will return to us. If we catch it, it'll return melee energy. I believe it's around 20% a target. 5 targets should return a full charge. But to ensure that we always have that melee at our disposal, we're again going to use the Gambler's Dodge. Sometimes because of that angle you're on, you can't always catch that dart. I throw them out there willy-nilly knowing that Gambler's Dodge has my back. And the Strand melee is unique with the Foetracer as we can debuff multiple targets at once. In order to dominate air clear, we're of course using that Whirlwind Maelstrom. These are stupid strong, and if you haven't used them by now, no doubt you've at least seen them tearing up the battlefield. With Chunky here, he's roughly taking 5 rockets to that bear gut of his, but just 2 tangles will do the job. It was, however, a little bit hard to get this clip as the Maelstrom just loves to change targets after a while. In the Season 22 artifact, there are heaps of perks to make these tangles shine. Communal pickups will make you curse less at your supposed allies when they nick your tangles. When they take your toys from the chest, you'll get a reduced tangle cooldown and a weapon damage bonus. Thanatotic tangles allows you to make more tangles with your favorite Strand weapon. Refreshing pickups grant you ability energy when picking up a tangle. So it's always better to pick up and throw rather than shooting to create your Maelstrom if you have the option. All of these perks together will create a massive uptime with your tangles, but frenzied stacks will make them goated. Caution though, this will add a decay to your armor charge, but it is well worth it, as this will take those damage ticks from the Maelstrom from 1800 to 2300. That's roughly a 30% surge. We've gone with a threaded Spectre aspect. Our FOMO build is based on the premise that we dodge to get a melee and debuff with that melee, and then lay into our debuff targets with that 25% weapon surge whilst they take their time taking our little shadow puppet out. These Spectres got several juicy buffs inside Season 22 and now distract more to the point that you actually feel invisible. And they tank a lot more damage before they spill those beans to keep you safer for longer. Shackle Grenade is still a good option despite the nerfs to suspension. It still works well against those unstopped champs, as well as our miners and mages. It is mainly the barrier and overload champs that it has little effect against, only buying us around 3 seconds of suspension. Threaded Generation, despite a 20% nerf, still does provide us with a decent level of grenade energy when doing damage, but it will now give you more based on crits versus bodies. Bungie actually thought ahead here, otherwise your Maelstrom would just be auto-loading grenades to your build. Thread of Continuity just buffs it all. This build suspends, unravels and severs. This fragment was an easy pick. Thread of Warding is going to feed us that woven mail for that important damage reduction whilst we run under light. Both our weapon multi-kills and melee kills will be making us orbs. Transmutation will allow us to create more tangles with our weapon kills whilst we have woven mail. The Quicksilver Storm was an obvious choice for this build. With a tier 4 surge, this thing is ravenous. We've got anti-barrier ARs inside Season 22, and nothing makes more tangles faster as final blows with our breach loading grenades will create tangles. I've been using the Rufus, but my friend Red was slaying out with this puppy, and I don't regret making the change. Circular Logic is my baby. Being an air clear build, I really wanted to utilize a heavy that could just chew through both miners and mages alike. This Adapter Strand LMG is an easy farm from the Terminal Overload every 3rd day on Neo Muna. We got a new Strand rocket, and the Nox Perennial can be very tasty if you're looking for something a little harder hitting. For me, I'm really liking the combination of Auto Fusion LMG this season, so at all times I can chew out barriers, spit out unstops, and rub out those overloads. Our Strand DPS on a hand cannon shot goes from 6367 to 7949. Whilst this isn't as impressive as our Arc and Solar FOMO builds, it does clear out rooms and applies that buff easier to multiple targets, both through our melees and nades, but also our tangles. Not the Maelstrom, but with the actual impact of the throw-in tangle. Now, our Void Kit actually has the 2nd strongest damage numbers, and is obviously the safest. The Void FOMO will also lean on our Gambler's Dodge to manufacture us a steady stream of snare bombs. This will apply our weaken effect, taking our base hand cannon shot from 6367 to 10068. Solar's high damage value only comes close via our melees, but with Echo of Undermining, so too can our Void Grenades. This means we can take on more mages than our solar subclass while still having a 58% weapon bonus. This build is going to create tons of void breaches for us. Those void breaches will feed us back class ability energy so we can weaken more mofos. The weaken effect also makes it a lot easier to kill our targets over our other subclasses as our targets rub that little poison from their eyes. Naturally, we are using the vanishing step aspect. This will help for those safe reloads whilst we're amongst the muck, as we will require that gambler's dodge from melees over our reloads. And the stylist executioner aspect is a must, as every major FOMO is going to be weakened, we can gain that invisibility on their demise. Obviously this will work too for any target killed inside the tether. This will allow us to hide in plain sight to maximize Echo of Reprisal. Final blows whilst we are surrounded by targets will grant us super energy, aka Orpheus Rig the Fragment. We can get huge chunks of super energy given back to us in no time at all, and with 3 abilities granting us weaken, we equip Echo of Harvest. Defeating weakened targets will create for us both an Orb of Power and a Void Breach. This will fuel that dodge snare frenzy. Make sure that you have the Shadow Shot Deadfall equipped. To me this is still the superior tether. It's all about that map suppression, and with that 58% weapon bonus, everything trapped inside of it will perish fast. This tether will also keep reactivating that monochromatic maestro buff whenever it traps a major. Echo of Starvation is going to keep us alive. Whenever we pick up a Void Breach or an Orb of Power, we will be granted Devour. Devour of course gives us back grenade energy and health. This build can apply Weaken every 7 seconds. Whilst our hunters can't chain Devour, it will keep us alive whilst we are standing right in front of them. What was your favourite build, guys? Let me know in the comments down below. If you got any questions or suggestions, and until next time, tippy time, my damies. What a tie!
Bottom of everything, he's the most tip top.